I was saying that Southwestern Public Service Company, which is the company that is making this announcement today under a new name, our legal name is Southwestern Public Service Company doing business as Xcel Energy, because we're an operating arm of Xcel Energy, which is an 11-state provider of electricity and natural gas and other energy services. SPS serves in the South Plains and Panhandle of Texas, eastern New Mexico, the Oklahoma Panhandle, and southwestern Kansas. Our service area is about 52,000 square miles. We serve about 1 million persons and provide a great deal of the generation of electric power that serves in this large region. I emphasize we provide a great deal, but we do not provide all of the power generation that's available in this region. If this is my phone, I want to turn it off. We have a fleet of natural gas fueled and coal fueled power plants and some slivers of other kinds of generation, for instance from hot nitrogen and some from wind. In a total capacity that we own of about 4,350 megawatts of instantaneous power plant capability. 1 megawatt will serve the needs of about 1,000 homes. We don't serve just homes, of course. We serve a lot of businesses and we serve the industries across the area. So do some other power generation companies. The announcement we're making today relates to the scope and the size of our power generation capacity and additions we're making to that power generation capacity that we can supply to customers. But it would be unfair to think that this announcement equals it's 10% of SPS owned capacity, but it's not 10% of the total capacity serving the region. Our total capacity, that 4,350 megawatts, is about 70% of the capacity available in the region. Again, it's primarily fueled by natural gas plants and by coal fuel plants. Natural gas fuel plants were our only means of generating power for a long time. Because we're in a natural gas area with great supply of natural gas, it was the appropriate fuel to use. But in the 1970s, fuel cost, meaning natural gas cost, really began to escalate for this company. And in response to that, in a very forward-looking managerial decision, Southwestern Public Service Company began to contract for coal to be delivered from the Powder River Basin in Wyoming by train to coal-fueled power plants here in Texas. The first of them were out here northeast of Amarillo, called Harrington Generation Station. There's more than 1,000 megawatts of capacity there in 3 units that were brought on in 76, 78, and 1980. And we designed and oversaw construction of another major coal fuel plant down near Muleshoe, Texas. Again, more than 1,000 megawatts of power at 2 units there. This was a great decision for the company because it's a great decision for our customers. What it has allowed us to do is to use the power of buying coal or buying gas to leverage the price of each. We can help force down the cost of natural gas for our plants when we can otherwise go buy coal. So we've learned that fuel diversity, having ways to leverage that market, is very helpful to keeping our prices low. We continued to build natural gas fuel plants into 1997. Then the company began to purchase power from independent power producers. There's a new power production plant at Borger. There's another large power production plant. Both of these are natural gas fueled down by Mustang. We purchase power from those facilities in this area, for instance, to help supply the total needs of the area. We then dispatch it on a central basis across an integrated system that serves all of this area. We haven't built a new power plant ourselves since 1997. We've been using independent power producers, and then beginning in 1999, we began to use wind generation. And as you have guessed, today is a day we're going to announce very significant increments of new wind generation coming onto our system. It's wind generation that is driven into our system by the forces of the market. It is less expensive for our customers to use this generation, to have availability of wind power in the system is advantageous to our customers because wind, at the prices we're paying for it, is lower cost than natural gas. And when we add wind, or when the wind blows, we can back down those natural gas fuel plants, and that will decrease the monthly bill that our customers see. That's what drives our decision to add such large increments of wind today. And that's what we're announcing today. The advantage of wind comes because of recent federal legislation renewing, and this is very important to the entire story, renewing production tax credits. These are tax credits available to the wind energy developer or the owner of a wind energy facility that reduces that owner's tax bill per kilowatt hour produced. It's almost 2 cents over the levelized life of a wind generation facility. So we have a support of about 2 cents per kilowatt hour available to the producers, the developers, when they come to us and offer wind. It's tax supported federal tax credit for production. And in New Mexico, which is part of our announcement today, a state tax credit of about another penny per kilowatt hour that reduces the price of this kind of fuel to our customers. We want to emphasize today that the recent action by the Congress and by President Bush's signature on this bill to renew production tax credits on the federal basis has given a tremendous impetus now to wind power development. It will reduce our customers' bills over time to be able to use that subsidized wind power in our system. That's an important point. The persons we have here to talk about it beyond that are the president of Southwestern Public Service Company, Gary L. Gibson. Gary is also a vice president, state vice president for Xcel Energy. And Walter Hornaday. Walter is the president of Cielo Wind Power of Austin, and his is one of the companies that has submitted a bid to us that we have selected as one of 2 of the best of more than 30 to provide our customers the lowest cost power that we can in aggregate on an overall basis. And these are the 2 persons I expect that you'll want to talk to on camera and more than anyone else with this background. What else do I need to say in background? Any other questions right now? All right. With Walter is Randy Soul. Randy also works for Cielo Wind Power. He's out doing a very interesting kind of task important to wind power development and an important part of the story you're telling today. That is contracting with landowners and leasing land where they can put the wind turbines. That's an important economic development in this area, as you've seen out at White Deer, where there are 80 megawatts of wind, and over near Tucumcari, where another 80 megawatts of wind are being installed by Cielo, because the landowners are paid either a royalty on the amount of power produced or a fixed fee per year to make that space available for the wind turbines and the roads and other things needed to service them. So one way that we see economic development and advantage to wind in this area is that the owners of windy land have an opportunity to harvest a crop that it wasn't available to them before that. And I think that's one of the things that really makes wind popular in this great area. And Mr. Hornaday and the others will tell you that you can almost throw a dart at a map anywhere out here and get good wind power. This is a natural resource. One point then on natural resources. Water conservation is one of the most important things about the use of wind generation. Traditional generation takes about 7/10 of a gallon of water through all of the systems to produce a kilowatt hour. And wind power generation takes almost no water at all. Sometimes they need to wash the blades of bugs and such, but hardly anything at all. So the savings of water in this semi-arid area, very important savings, from the facilities we're announcing today, is going to approach 750 million gallons of water a year. Additionally, when we use wind, we're saving the fossil fuels like coal or natural gas, especially in this case, these prices for natural gas. We're saving that natural gas for some use in the future. So there are two major conservation points to be made for wind, and another driving factor for us. I need to make one apology, and that's for Pomona, the second developer that we have selected for wind power additions to our system. Pomona of La Jolla, California is today meeting with potential investors in their project, and they send their apologies that they couldn't come help with this announcement, but it's important that they be able to get that financing and build the 120 megawatts they plan over by Elida, New Mexico.
Howdy, my name is Walt Hornaday. I'm president of Cielo Windpower. Our company is a company that's sole mission is building and operating wind power projects. We completed a project for Xcel Energy back in 2001. Pleased that Xcel has chosen for us to build a project about twice that size on the west side of Amarillo. And our plan is to put up wind turbines that look very similar to this turbine here, which are the turbines that were installed near White Deer, Texas. And as the wind picks up and the rotor turns and then makes three-phase electricity, that's the same electricity produced by coal and gas and nuclear power plants that traditionally have supplied energy to U.S. utilities. And this project here will provide enough electricity to serve 10 or 20,000 homes and not use any water resources, and to help to diversify the fuel mix for Xcel so they can help to control the cost of power to their end customer. And our company is pleased to be doing another project, because when these projects go in, we end up with a lot of construction jobs and a lot of operating jobs in areas that can use the help, as well as the farmers end up with quite a bit of a boost from the revenue we can get from our project as well.
Generally, how much area do these things take up overall? You've got to put
This
in
project,
roads, you've got to have bases.
This project is going to be roughly use up about 200 acres, but it'll be spread over maybe a distance of 5 or 6 miles, but it'll take about 200 acres out of production or out of grazing for the project, but then the area around it can continue to be used for ranching and farming purposes.
All right, and approximately how long will these machines be expected to last?
They're designed for a 20-year design life, so they're very robust, especially the severe wind conditions. When you look at all the weather conditions in West Texas of the thunderstorm outflows, ice, hail, dust storms, these machines have a lot of engineering go into them to make sure they last 20 years.
All right, anything else you would like to throw in?
No, other than we're glad to be in windy Amarillo, Texas. This makes being a wind farmer easy. We haven't had any projects that haven't produced yet.
Are there any other locations around this area you think are ideal locations for putting up more generation capacity?
Xcel is blessed with one of the windiest service areas in all the U.S. You can throw a dart at the map and find a windy area. So it's really just a matter of where they'd like the power put into their system.
Good morning. I'm Gary Gibson. I'm the president and CEO of Southwestern Public Service Company, and I'm here to tell you today that we're announcing a new wind power project that will be significant for our area. After this wind project is installed, and it should be installed by the end of 2005 or the first quarter of 2006, we will be adding 10% additional new capacity to our system, and it will be all wind. And the wind project that we're looking at will be 160 megawatts that'll be near Wildorado, Texas, and 120 megawatts of wind power that will be northeast of Roswell, New Mexico. And what this will do for our customers is basically lower their cost per kilowatt hour, because right now all of you know that natural gas has become a very high fuel and we would like to add additional wind power so that the cost blended in with wind, gas, and coal that we will have as our generation mix will be much more economical for our customers. As I mentioned, this will be finished up by the end of 2005, and we will be buying from 2 different suppliers. We will not be investing our money in the wind power, but we will just be buying the output from it. And of course, everybody says, well, why don't you just put in wind and we'll have wind as our 100% of our generation? Well, basically, the reason for that is that we have days that the wind doesn't blow in Amarillo, Texas, and we end up having days that there's dead calm, and we need the coal and gas to generate the kilowatt hours on those days. Well, thank you.
All right, let me ask you a couple of questions. Are consumers going to be able to see this cost savings reflected in their fuel adjustment costs on their bill?
Yes, they will. And it just depends on what the costs are at that particular time. And we don't have calculations because that's in the future. We don't know what gas prices are going to be a year from now. But it will be significantly cheaper, the kilowatt hour fuel cost adjustment on wind versus gas and coal.
All right. For many, many decades, Southwestern Public Service was nationally recognized for the quality of service that it gave to its customers. Also, the high degree of efficiency that was achieved in power generation, resulting in a much lower cost for consumers for your trade area. Is this effort a continuation of that quality of service that is being given to your customers?
It is. Even though gas prices have been very high recently, what we've been able to do is to still be the lowest price kilowatt hour produced in the state. And so the bills that our customer sees are cheaper than they are in Dallas or Houston. And then this is just another effort to help us maintain that. And the reason we're able to put wind power in our system right now is because President Bush just signed the energy bill 2 months ago, and that enabled these systems to work. In other words, it takes production tax credit to cause this to be cheaper than coal or gas. And with that signing of the energy bill, President Bush put those credits back in place, and it's making these things work for us.
Now, Southwestern Public Service, some time back, was acquired by Xcel Energy. This initiative in utilizing wind power in these new generation facilities, is this something that has been pretty much instigated by Southwestern Public Service, or is this something that Xcel Energy is trying to do across its whole trade region?
Well, we're one of the 4 companies that makes up Xcel, and we weren't acquired. We were merged. We merged with Public Service Company of Colorado, which made New Century Energies, and that merged with Northern States Power, which made Xcel Energy. So we're the result now of 2 mergers. We still are Southwestern Public Service Company. We still have a wholly owned subsidiary of Xcel Energy. Xcel, if you look at where they are in the wind market, they are about the 2nd largest producer of wind power in the United States. So it's not just within the Southwestern Public Service Company territory, it's also throughout the Xcel Energy service territory that we are heavily involved in wind. And we think wind is the best alternative energy that we can put on our system.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.